Okay, so yesterday we were talking about everything fat soluble vitamin related. Um, we were really just talking about, if you can figure out what the vitamin does, it makes it pretty easy to deduce what happens if you have a deficiency. Because obviously, if it does a job and you don't have it, it's not going to do its job. It's not rocket science. So, just to review, we went over yesterday about vitamin A and how it had a component in those visual proteins. And again, if you want to go on a deep dive, there's some pretty interesting YouTube videos about the soft-coated wheaten terriers who have an inability to utilize this fat-soluble vitamin A, and they get essentially infected. They get a virus injected into their eye, and that allows them to use it, and it nourishes the eye, and then you have the blind dog that's now able to see. It's really pretty remarkable, the before and after. If you've ever seen a blind dog, they're very tentative when they walk. They'll tend to extend their front legs very far in front of them, kind of like a person with their hands in front of them so they don't bump into stuff. And they're very tentative. They're very, very cautious in their movements. And then you see the same dog after the procedure, and he's out front of the walker and he's just zooming. He's got the zoomies and he's just going. It's crazy. So kind of interesting if you got some time over the weekend. We know that vitamin A also helps with spermatogenesis, the formation of sperm, and it's going to help you with immunity, Groot. So knowing that it's the development of eyes, spermatogenesis, and essentially the immune function, the foods that you're going to see higher amounts of this particular nutrient is going to be in your growth diets, because we're going to need the increased amount in order to help facilitate the development of your immune system. Because when babies are born, they're not born with an immune system. They have to borrow some from mom. If I have a deficiency, I'm going to have retarded growth. And we talked about this. This is a non-energy producing nutrient, right? Water, vitamins, minerals do not actively produce energy on their own. What they do is they help your body utilize the energy producing nutrients. So if I have a case where I have all of the energy producing nutrients that my body could possibly need, could possibly want, but I don't have the key to unlock it, I can't use them. This is one of the keys. So anytime I'm deficient in any of these non-energy producing nutrients, it's going to cause energy issues because I don't have the key to unlock the ability to use them. Growth takes a tremendous amount of energy. So if I'm deficient in vitamin A, I don't have that key to unlock the energy. Therefore, ipso facto, I don't have the energy needed to grow appropriately. The other one we talked about here was the increased cerebrospinal fluid pressure. And now the fluid is in your brain and your spinal cord. And your brain and your spinal cord just kind of float around in this jar of jelly. This fluid helps to create a buffer, but also helps nutrients to be able to pass through the barrier. If I have an increased pressure, well, I can't increase the pressure this way. I can't like get this big balloon head because my skull is fused. So the pressure ends up pushing against the skull and compressing the brain and the spinal cord. And that's where you're going to see like grand mal seizures, ataxia. You might even see some outward signs like nystagmus, where their eyes bounce back and forth. Syncope, where they just
Does it affect the nerve system?
What was that, Em?
Does it affect like the nerve system, like for the receptors from the brain?
Absolutely. You're going to see all of the neurological effects. And depending on what part of the brain is being most compressed, that'll determine what kind of symptoms. Are we looking at locomotive, where they can't walk, they keep falling over? Or are we looking at behavioral centers, where you have a dog who's normally super chill and super awesome suddenly turn massively aggressive? So it just kind of depends on what part of the brain you're getting the most compression on. Obviously, if vitamin A helps with visual proteins, we're going to see eye disorders, just like I talked about with the soft-coated wheaten. And of course, if it makes sperm and I don't got it, then I got no sperm. I ain't got no sperms. Toxic reactions. Remember that fat-soluble vitamins, you're much more likely to see toxic than deficiencies because we can store them to some degree. And so just like the Tupperware cabinet, it starts to spill out and you're going to start seeing toxic syndromes. In our cats, we see the cervical spondylosis. And remember, I drew the picture yesterday of the cervical vertebra and they get the little bridging of the bony bridging. And sometimes one of the little bone chips can break off and whoop, float up and start compressing that spinal cord. Erythema, which we decided was what?
Reddening of the skin.
I like teaching in my office because I can drink my Diet Coke while I'm doing it. I'm just saying. I am on campus, by the way. Yes, reddening of the skin. Human condition that I compared it to was like rosacea. And then here are long bone fractures. This is going to go because of this bone resorption. Our epithelial cells are constantly shedding, right? Here's a little bit of huff for everybody. If they didn't constantly shed, by time you guys are my age, your skin would be like 3 feet thick. That's disgusting. You'd be like this huge tree person. So our bones and our internal structures can't shed the way that our skin does, but we still need to get rid of the dead cells, the injured cells, and remodel the bone. And so vitamin A helps to do that. And if I have too much vitamin A, it does it too much. And I resorb too much bone, weakening the bone, and that gives us our long bone fractures. Now, these are going to be non-traumatic fractures, meaning that you're just, and your leg breaks. Vitamin D, we discussed, has everything to do with bones. When I say vitamin D, you think bones, because what it does is it helps maintain that calcium phosphorus ratio. Now, who remembers what the ratio was that we needed?
1 to 1.
1 to 1. For every little calcium, we need a phosphorus. There's our BFF, 1 to 1. And so if I have a lot of calcium, and where do I see this happening? Honestly, nutritionally, supplementation. You'll get these owners that get these large breed dogs, like a Great Dane, your Irish Wolfhound, etc. You get the Great Dane, and this owner's like, I want the biggest Great Dane there ever was. I'm gonna ride him around like a pony. And so we know from commercials and just from growing up, what builds strong, big bones? Calcium. So you'll have these owners with these calcium supplements, like ramming them into the dog, like, eat it, just eat it. And thinking that it's going to make the dog grow bigger. Well, first off, no, genetics is going to put a stop to that. They're only going to grow as big as they're programmed to grow. But the other problem is that we're now overdosing the animal on calcium. This little calcium doesn't have a friend. So what vitamin D does is says, it's okay, calcium. I will find you a buddy, Match.com, and start sucking phosphorus out of the bones in order to maintain that ratio. Well, if I'm sucking a major ingredient out of my bones, that's a big problem because now my bones are super weak. So that's kind of where you're going to see mainly this vitamin D. So we've got everything bones, but the other thing that we talked about was insulin. Insulin is created in the pancreas. I don't know, have you guys done your endocrine system yet? Not yet. That's okay. We've talked a little bit about insulin in last term and this term with diabetes. What insulin does is it takes glucose out of the bloodstream and delivers it to the tissue. So without it, nobody's getting paid. Even though the paycheck is in the mail, the glucose is in circulation, I can't get it to deliver. So without vitamin D, our pancreas can't actively produce insulin. Suddenly now I have an animal who has a nutritional a deficiency potentially of vitamin D, but is now exhibiting signs of diabetes. So, main deficiency, rickets. I had you all look up the pictures of rickets yesterday. It's pretty significant, although it is a gradual progressive condition. Osteoporosis is a demineralization. As you grow older, you guys don't have to worry about this yet because you're all fetuses. But as you grow older, one of the things that you need to have checked on your, especially the ladies, on your well woman examination is bone density test to make sure that your body is continuing to mineralize properly. And then we have osteomalacia, which is just a softening of the bones. Your bones turn almost like into a marshmallow and they can just bend like a green stick. Toxic effects, I'm going to have too much calcium in my blood. I'm going to have lameness because of the issues with the skeleton. Is everybody okay so far? Bueno. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. We talked a little yesterday that antioxidants, they stabilize what?
Free radicals.
Nice. Free radicals. Free radicals. I think I explained. Did I go over the play with you guys? My Tony Award-winning play? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Your amazing play about free radicals at the prom.
Free radicals invading the prom. And damage begets damage. Misery loves company. So when we get these free radicals, they just run around doing damage. And they create other molecules that are going to do damage. And so what an antioxidant does is it helps to stabilize those free radicals and stop the damage so that your body has time to repair. In our deficiencies, sterility. Now, this is a pretty common one, especially in the males. And that's why if we have a breeding pair that is just, for whatever reason, not able to conceive, we bred them, it's not working. Other than physical deformities and disease, the most common thing we check for is nutritional deficiencies. Because what happens if you think about it, in both the male and the female, is nature is amazing. It's like whatever computer program simulation we're all living in right now. It's amazing. The safeguards, the kind of the buffers. So if the female or the male is deficient in a nutrient, what that's going to do is it's going to prevent the body from, obviously, in the female, providing the fetuses for what they need to grow and develop. But what it's going to do in the male is you need proper nutrition to create healthy new sperm. Unlike the females are born with the number of eggs that they will have for their whole life. That's true in humans, cats, dogs, what have you. You are born with a finite number of eggs, and when those eggs are used up, then you don't go through your menses anymore. It's called menopause. Males, however, will continue to create sperm until the day they die. They're constantly just creating sperm here and there, everywhere. But if their body doesn't have nutritionally what it needs to create healthy sperm, their body will physically prevent them from passing on genetically compromised sperm, because I don't want genetically compromised sperm. That's half the donation to the new puppy or the new kitten or the new human. And so your body just kind of goes, okay, boys, shut her down, and will stop the sperm production until nutritionally we can have what we need to produce healthy sperm. So I find that kind of fascinating that we have all of these kind of safeguards, these little firewalls. These I call them, because obviously we're all living in a computer simulation. We all know that. We're a real world Sims game. Anyway, something to think about. Immunodeficiency. Well, this is another one that we need to critically think through, because vitamin E doesn't actively work on the immune system, not like vitamin A. But what happens with vitamin E is if we are deficient, we don't have what we need to stabilize those free radicals. And so now I've got little fires everywhere, little damage, little riots everywhere. Think about it like this. Your immune system is a police and fire force, and their job is to go around and put out the fires and stop the little riots. Normally, there's more than enough people on the force to get this accomplished. But if suddenly I have all these free radicals running around, causing havoc, doing damage, just being helter-skelter, my immune system is now, the focus is in too many places. And we can no longer focus on stranger danger, and viruses and bacteria and illnesses are going to take advantage of that. Viruses and bacteria and illnesses are very tricky, and they know when it is better to infiltrate your body, because they know that the immune system is too busy over here. It's not watching over here. So bippity boppity boo, we're going to infiltrate. Can't really overdose yourself on vitamin E. Go ahead and have the glass of red wine. Have 2, have 4. I don't care. I don't judge. It's Friday. Do whatever you want. So you can't really overdose yourself. You can't have too many antioxidants. Oh geez, I've just recorded myself endorsing alcoholism. That's Live and let live. Vitamin K, we talked about everything blood clot. So I drew yesterday, kind of gave you an overview of what happens when you cut yourself. You have this clot ladder, and every rung on the ladder is a protein. And you have to touch every single rung on the ladder. You have to have every single protein in order to create a clot. It's called the clotting cascade. Vitamin K is the ladder. It's the supportive rungs on the ladder. And so if I don't have it, I'm going to bleed. I am not going to be able to create a clot. So I'm going to have an increased clotting time. Increased clotting time meaning it takes me longer to clot. I'm going to hemorrhage, and there's my favorite word, hypoprothrombonemia. Deficiency of the cellular precursor to platelets in the blood. And it's not toxic. You can't really overdose yourself on, it's not like you can have too many ladders. So those are the fat soluble vitamins in their entirety. Do I have any comments, questions, concerns about any of this? All right, so the other thing I love about this chart is it also does a review on the water solubles. We talked about all of the B complex, and we did those individually. But we know that the primary role of these water-soluble B complex is metabolic reactions. They help and assist your body in utilizing the energy-producing nutrients. So if I don't have them, I'm going to not be able to grow. Oh gosh, there's some diarrhea right there. Oh, that's not good. Why would I get diarrhea? Well, let's think this one through. Now we're starting to take all of this information, this anatomical and nutritional information, and we're using it as a technician. You get step A, I got to get to step D, but I got to figure out the steps in between. My animal is taking in energy producing nutrients. We now know that our carbs, fats, and proteins are made of Legos, and our body has to break apart those Legos in order to use them. If I don't break apart the Legos, I can't use them. This vitamin B complex, this water-soluble vitamin, is one of the things that I need to break apart the Legos. If I don't have it, I don't break apart the Legos. I can't use the nutrients. I'm now accumulating much more kind of trash, and my body's saying, hey, we need to get rid of this stuff. We're getting overstocked with crap, literally crap right now. And so we have to get rid of it much faster. The colon does not retain the water, and we end up with an animal with diarrhea. Did everyone follow me on that train of thought? Everybody got that? Fabulous. We know that as far as toxic effects, we're much more likely to see deficiencies than toxicities in our water solubles. So we don't have a toxicity, except, this is a big one, put a little star beside this, niacin in our cats. Even though it's a water soluble, cats are very, very sensitive to niacin. And if they do become toxic, they can have convulsions and it can kill them. It can end up affecting the electrical conduction of the heart, send them into cardiac arrest. So although every other animal on the planet does not have a toxic reaction to these, cats being the aliens that they are, they do.
I have a bad reaction if I take too much niacin.
Really?
I break out in a horrible.
My goodness. That's crazy. I have never met someone that has a potential reaction to niacin. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was on like supplements and it was like in everything, and I
get the same reaction.
head to toe rash.
My body
and
feels like I get like a sunburn, like my skin gets red and hot, and I feel like I burn, like I feel like I get a sunburn from niacin and supplements.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are part alien cat, I guess. You must be part of the, alien subspecies race that I'm coming from. Although I don't have a reaction to niacin.
So I thought maybe everybody would respond that way, because it was like in powder form, and like I said, I would add it to like shake, and yeah, my skin would virtually, like literally turn red, and I would get hot, and I felt like if I was out swimming and got a sunburn, and it would last about 24 to 48 hours depending on how many scoops I put.
Wow, that's crazy. I've never heard that in a human, and here we have two. That's pretty crazy. What blood type are you two? How do you, Rachel?
I don't know.
Neither
how do
of
I
you
not know? I don't know.
How do neither of you know? Part of being an adult, there are certain steps you have to take in order to be considered a true adult. You must own a blender. I don't know why.
I own a blender.
I got
You own
one
a
of those,
blender.
Margarita.
Okay.
I own an air fryer and a pressure cooker. I own all the things.
And you need to know what your blood type is.
I'm sure it's
fail
on
as
the
an
medical
adult.
paper I have.
I fail as an adult.
Aren't we all? We're all.
Hey, I just found out when I was pregnant what my blood type was. I didn't know this whole time.
Oh my gosh.
I've had 3 kids and I don't know.
How do you not know if you've had kids? Rachel, if you are O
I have
and your
5.
husband is O, you need to know, because that could have been super dangerous.
I know my husband's not O. I know my husband is the one that he can like donate to pretty much everybody. It's just not O.
That one rare, what is it, O negative or O?
AB
O?
positive or something. I don't know what he is.
So now the universal donor is O negative.
So he's
Okay.
not that one, but he's the other special one.
I believe I'm O negative.
Well,
I'm
you have
O positive, and my baby came out B negative.
Oh my goodness. Don't know about that.
No, it's like really rare, supposedly, because my husband's like AB something.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I've donated several times and they told me my blood type. Still don't remember.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I donate plasma on the norm, and also they let you know your blood type, but I never cared to remember it. Now I know I fail as an adult.
You do, you're failing as an adult. I am an O negative. I can give to everybody, but I can only receive from an O negative.
I know they tell me that I got that universal where they can automatically just be able to count mine.
O negative, we are the alien race of purebloods because we can only receive from each other, but we can give to anyone. So, yeah. And here's the crazy fact. So O negative is, I know we got on blood and that's okay. Guess what? It's Friday. It's my class. I can do what I want. O negative is relatively rare. I mean, it's not one of the more common, especially the O negative, RH factor negative, because we are the purebloods. Every single person in my entire family is O negative. Both of my parents, both of my sisters, both of my nieces, and my nephew.
That's amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
But don't they have to have like, okay, so when like people with RH, they have to get shots when they're pregnant because they'll like reject the baby, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's my aunt. My aunt had to have that. She kept losing babies and didn't know why. And then when she had my cousin, she had to get the shots because I guess they had just came out with it. This was like 30 years ago.
Yeah. My mom had to do the same thing.
He's a weirdo. My cousin's a weirdo. I think he's an alien.
Hey, we're not all weird. Come on. All right. So vitamin C, we talked about that earlier this week. And we know that dogs and cats do not need ascorbic acid in the diet because they can synthesize it while they are creating and metabolizing glucose. That's a big one. So we don't have any deficiencies. There are no toxicities because your body is creating it as it needs it. Humans, on the other hand, cannot create this. We do have to take it in our diets. And that's where we talked a little bit about pirates and that we saw a condition called scurvy, which is a vitamin C deficiency, and it's going to make your teeth fall out and your fingernails are all going to pop off. You're going to lose all your toenails and you're going to develop these horrible weeping ulcers, typically in between your fingers and your toes, like just necrotic, dead skin ulcers. Ugh. We had a couple of vitamin wannabes. These are the guys who they don't technically fit into this category, but they didn't fit into any category and they act most like vitamins. So we let them stay. And that's going to be choline, which is a neurotransmitter. Remember, we have these neurons, which are nerves. I don't know where you guys are in anatomy right now. Have you done the nervous system yet?
No, we're on digestive.
Yeah, we just finished digestive. We start urinary next.
Kidneys are amazing. I will help you with kidneys. I love kidneys. And you guys should have all done really well on the digestive system because we've only been talking about that for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, a lot of it tied in with stuff that you were saying about like all the different vitamins and minerals and all that stuff. It all tied in.
So when you get to the nervous system, you have these nerves. They're called neurons, and they receive and transmit messages, but they don't touch each other. They have a very strict rule of personal space bubble. They don't want to touch anyone. So I've got to be able to get the message from one neuron to another. And so I have these neurotransmitters. These are chemicals that will go across the gap and send the message. Depending on the kind of message that I'm sending will determine what chemical I'm going to use. Some chemicals are used for certain messages, others are used for other messages. Choline happens to be one of these messengers that we can use. If I'm deficient In my puppies, it's going to affect their their liver, and end up. Somebody tell me the medical condition for fatty liver.
Is it
Hepatitis.
lipidosis? Lipidosis?
Good job, you guys. Good job. Hepatic lipidosis. Carnitine. All right. How many of you are drinking those disgusting energy drinks right now? Cough it up. Show
I
them.
drank one this morning before husbandry.
Show
I
them
would
up.
say my camera's being weird and it makes my whole thing freeze when I turn it on, but there is one.
Oh, gee. All right. So a lot of the energy drinks, you'll notice in the ingredients that they contain carnitine. This is how, with carnitine, you are getting energy without the caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant. Okay. I'm getting energy from my, my drink of choice. There's never one far away from me. So this is giving me false energy. This is just like a stimulant. This is like me taking a little drink of speed. What the energy drinks do is they don't use caffeine. What they do is they have carnitine. And what carnitine does is it helps your body use fatty acids. It helps your body break down and convert fatty acids into usable energy. So if I'm taking in larger amounts of carnitine, I'm breaking down larger amounts of fatty acids, which is then in turn going to be converted into usable energy, giving me the little energy boost that I need. Why is this dangerous? Well, we kind of talked a little bit about this, why it's dangerous to break down excessive fatty acids, because you end up with the byproduct. Remember, the ketones accumulate, shut down your kidneys. It's the ketosis. So that's why they say, if you drink more than like 2 a day, you're at risk for multi-system organ failure and you're probably going to die. So just a happy thought for a Friday. So that's what carnitine does. It helps your body convert and utilize those fatty acids. So that's why you see them carnitine in your energy drinks. So now that we've scribbled all over this entire slide, does anyone have any questions? If you, for the test, now am I saying do this? No, but I know you guys. If you were to study nothing except for this slide and the things that I have circled and outlined and talked about, you would probably do pretty well on the test. About 80% of everything you need to know about vitamins is right here on this slide. I know it's a lot of words, and I know we've taken almost 2 full days to go through it, but this is a nice condensed, again, I could extend this PowerPoint by 30 slides and go through each of these on a separate PowerPoint slide. But I really think that having this centralized thing of area of information is way easier to study from than trying to find, where is the information in a whole host of other places.
Oh, I just snapped a picture of this. Now I'm going to go print it and just highlight everything the way you
Yeah.
have it.
That's what I would recommend. If you know the stuff on this slide, you are going to do, nice job, Lauren. You're going to do just fine. Just fine. So the great thing about our commercial diets is they are formulated to be complete and balanced. In fact, they have to be. There's a bare minimum nutritional requirements set that all food companies have to meet in order to call their food complete and balanced. It has nothing to do with the quality of the ingredients, right? If I use low quality, I just make you feed more of it. But what it does have is if an animal needs a nutrient, if a species needs a nutrient, in order to qualify to be complete and balanced for that animal, I have to include that nutrient. Where we start seeing issues is when people start cooking for their own animals. I've had a couple of people ask me, what are your thoughts on this? And I'm kind of on the fence. In my humble, limited knowledge opinion, most owners do not do the research to effectively cook for their animals. Human diets, humans need different nutrients than animals. So simply cooking for yourself and giving it to your pet does not work. They need different nutrients than you do. For not doing the research and seeing, and providing them with what they need, you do sometimes see these deficiencies or toxicities in home cooked diets. They're called a BARF diet. No, I did not make that up. It's biologically appropriate raw food. One of the more common deficiencies that we see that we talked about yesterday is vitamin E. That's probably going to be one of the more common things that we'll see in the home cooked diets. And this is going to cause that steatitis, which remember was inflammation of the yellow fat, or pan steatitis, pan meaning entire. So all of the yellow fat is inflamed and it's incredibly painful. The two most common deficiencies you will see is vitamin E and vitamin K. Vitamin E being a true nutritional deficiency, meaning that the animal's not getting enough of it in the diet. Vitamin K is a non-nutritional deficiency, meaning that the animal may be getting it but can't use it. We talked a little yesterday about one of the more common reasons for why, which would be the ingestion of some sort of chemical like rat bait. Rat poison. Do what?
I'm sorry. What are the physical traits of lack of vitamin E and K that noticeably?
So vitamin E is going to be the pansteatitis, the inflammation of the yellow fat. The animal's going to be incredibly painful. Vitamin K, they're going to hemorrhage. That's the number one. They're going to have increased clotting time and hemorrhaging. So if you have an animal that has eaten rat poison, what rat bait does, what rat poison does, and mouse and mole and vole and what have you, all of the poisons. What they do is they block your body's ability to use the vitamin K. You can still take it in and your body's like, nope, can't use this. And so without it, like right now, it's the vitamin K in my body that's preventing me from bleeding out of every orifice. I have a lot of holes in me. Holes down there, holes everywhere. Well, what's keeping my blood on the inside? I even have little holes in all of my blood vessels. Remember, my blood vessels have these little spaces called fenestrations that allow my blood cells to move in and out. Well, what keeps the blood from just leaking out too? Vitamin K. So if my body is blocked from using it, suddenly I just start bleeding out of every hole. And all of my blood vessels just go and disintegrate. And I'll start actively hemorrhaging into my lungs, hemorrhaging into my abdominal cavity. And the cause of death in this is going to be you essentially drown in your own body fluids.
So that keeps everything from leaking.
So essentially vitamin K just keeps all the blood on the inside and keeps you clotting, prevents you from hemorrhaging. So like, tell you a little, when was it? I don't even know, 5 years ago? It was a while back. Miss Huff got rats in her house. I am a very clean person. They came from my backyard neighbor. In fact, we have a shared tree in my backyard. It's in their yard, but the branches come over into mine. And at night you could sit and see the rats coming over on the branches. And so how I found out was I was feeding my dogs one night, and I used to keep the food in this big Tupperware container in my laundry room. So I go to scoop the food, and I hear this scuffle, scuffle, scuffle. And I look, and there's a giant rat that just kind of jumped out at me, and I screamed, and my significant other screamed because he didn't know what was happening. He didn't even know. He was just screaming for the sake of screaming. I'm like, oh my God, there's a giant rat in here. So I ran and scuffled away. And I mean, it was humongous. It was freaking mongous. So we go, okay, we're going to get this little sucker. So we go and get some traps. And he had eaten a hole in the Tupperware plastic. So I set the trap underneath the hole. So when he went in the hole to get into the Tupperware, off he'd go. That little, oh, I almost said a really naughty word. Oh, that little guy stuck his head in, saw the trap, went to the other side of the Tupperware, chewed a second hole, and ate his fill. So then it turned out that if you have one rat, you never have just one rat. Okay, if you see one, you've got 100. And so I was several weeks later, I hadn't seen another one, and I was laying in bed. And you know, when you wake up, usually it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why. Every human wakes up and it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And my dog, I thought Bentley used to sleep on the bed with me. And I kind of am like half asleep. I have a nightlight in my bathroom. So I'm half asleep, and I'm just kind of, you know, when you wake up and you're just trying to go back to sleep. And I see Bentley, and he's kind of standing up like this at the end of the bed on his back legs. And I'm like, what are you doing? And suddenly I hear the snore from the pillow beside me, and Bentley's laying beside me. I'm like, holy shnikey. Turn the light on, it's a giant rat at the end of my bed. Giant rat. Screamed, moved out of my house. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I like packing crap into a bag, and I did wait until 6 o'clock and called Mr. Hamilton, said, I can't do it today. I need a personal day, and moved in with my significant other. So what ended up, it was
Burn the house down.
oh my God, right? So, and I show up at his place at 7, and I'm like, I'm moving in. And he's like, oh, okay. Was this in the contract? Can you do this? I'm like, I don't care. I'll sleep in the other room. Brr, brr, brr. So my whole point is called the exterminator, because I got to get rid of these things. Well, I had what were called Norwegian brown rats, which are the most highly intelligent and aggressive colony of rats you could possibly have. I know this is probably dating myself. None of you know this reference, but like the rats of Nim.
I know that.
Okay, some of you are nodding. You know the rats of Nim. You know the rats of Nim. So so I told him, I've moved out. I don't care. Steal whatever you want. Just get rid of the rats. Here's a key to my house. I'm not going back there. So he laid down 200 traps. There was not a single inch of floor that was not covered in traps. He got one because the other rats saw the one and went, nope, and didn't do it. So then he baited the upstairs in the attic because that's where they were. None of them would eat the effing bait. They wouldn't eat it. And so
they
then
really are smart like us. Like you said, they picked up the
They
concept.
are
They said, nope.
highly, and not only are they highly intelligent, but apparently this type of rat will teach others in the colony. Like
And
they'll
they're
go
yeah,
and see somebody
and
dead
comprehension.
and
They
say,
got it.
hey, Bob just died from eating that blue stuff, so you guys might want to stay away from that. So what he ended up having to do was do a liquid spray poison. So as the rats walked through it and then groomed themselves, they would ingest it. And that finally worked. 6 effing weeks later. 6 weeks.
Man, and you took out how many?
Well, you don't know, because what happens is the warfarin, the rat bait, is not only got the warfarin that'll block the vitamin K, but it's also incredibly high in sodium, which is salt. So what happens to you when you eat something salty?
It dries you out. It makes you, you know what I mean?
You're thirsty.
Yeah.
There's no water supply in my attic, so they leave the house to go find a water supply, and that's where they die.
Okay.
So
Hold on, are these kind of rats in the United States?
Yeah, I live in Texas. I live 20 minutes from the school.
I was hoping you were talking about Canada.
So they
No.
leave infected, they die infected. Is it possible that they go out killing others as well?
It is. It's relatively remote because like a coyote or a fox is big enough if they eat the rat, although that amount of poison was enough to kill the rat, being 5 or 6 times their size is not, it's not going to be enough. Could it cause some issues? Of course. Is it going to kill them?
Okay.
Probably not. Now, if you get a cat eating the rat, then there's a possibility you're going to have some issues.
Well, I mean, I've had a dog, a lactating mother accidentally eat some rat poison, and her pups were about, I want to say the pups were about almost 4 weeks old when one day I went in and I noticed she had eaten something. And when I had her cough it up, it was something like a greenish blue color. So I didn't know what it was at the time, and my landlord had, thrown out. So when I put her to feed, when I went back, there was just, the pups looked like they had fed off of a carcass. They were just full with blood. So when I went to check on her, she was like if she, I guess, was like menstruating or something. She was hemorrhaging from her vulva terribly. Passed away on there that died, but she's like if she drained herself all out.
Right. So yeah, she ate the rat bait and then she passed it to the puppies through the milk. So there's my story with vitamin K.
Well, a long time ago, we had rats, and my dad was trying to catch them, and then he couldn't find them. And then one day he heard like just some rustling, and then they started eating dog food we had. They like bit through a plastic container, and that thing got fat. And I was like, oh, so nasty. They're so smart.
They're so smart and they're so destructive. Guys, they
yeah.
dug how they were, so they were up in my attic, but the other place they were getting in and out was in my laundry room. They ate a hole in the concrete foundation and dug a tunnel into my garage.
Yeah, they could eat through.
Not
steel.
kidding.
They can eat through metal pipes, literally.
It's insane.
So my in-laws have the same problem, and so what they do is they cause the damage because they have a 2-story house. So they like to sneak in the middle floor in between. So they cause holes everywhere, trying to get throughout the house, chewing through wires. They cause a lot of electrical damages as well.
Yeah. So gosh. So yeah, if you want another deep dive, if you got nothing to do this weekend, do some research on the Norwegian brown rat. Because it's insane that the level of their intelligence is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And so thankfully I haven't had them since, knock on wood. So there's my story about this. Antioxidants, we've already talked about this. This is just a review slide. Stabilizes free radicals and help to restore the damaged tissue. Antioxidants can also help with cognitive function because we are helping the body to repair. We're stopping damage and allowing it time to repair damage. So we are going to see higher volumes of antioxidants in our senior diets. Again, just a review slide. We've already covered this in the big chart slide. The 2 vitamins that are functioning as antioxidants, stabilizing free radicals. Vitamin C is the water-soluble antioxidant. Vitamin E is the fat-soluble antioxidant. So we can go ahead and supplement a little bit more of these than what we might normally. Vitamin C, give it all day long. It's water soluble. You can't overdose them on it. But in cats and dogs, we don't need that in our diets because that is one of the few that they can create for themselves. Vitamin E, however, even though it's fat soluble and you are more likely to have toxic reactions, you can supplement a little bit more. Don't go crazy. But yeah, it's one that you can have probably a little bit more and not have a worry. This is just a fun slide. A lot of times with our pets, I have people asking, treats are expensive. They're very high in calories. Obesity is an epidemic among our companion animals. What can I do? What can I give my pet that might be a little healthier? And so this is just some stuff. You can give them carrots, baby carrots, a little bit of an apple. Don't give them the seeds. Apple seeds are not good. Green beans are wonderful. And one of the things that I did recommend to some of my owners when I was in private practice is they like the crunch, right? Dogs like the crunch. So you can take baby carrots and green beans and snap off the ends of the green beans and soak them in water for about 20 minutes. Rinse them off, like get them dry, put them in a freezer bag, throw them in the freezer. They're going to absorb the water, and then that water is going to freeze. And then when you give them the green bean or the carrot, it's going to have that nice snap crunch and act more like a chewy than a green bean or a carrot. So there's my healthy treat tip for the day.
Can they ever have too much of these? Like
Well,
green beans and
I mean, technically, yes, you can have too much of anything at any point. So giving them like you would normally give treats. Whenever you would normally give a treat, you can give a green bean or a carrot, and it just takes down the calories. So if you have an animal that you're trying to get to lose weight, there's a nice healthy alternative to giving them a milk bone or a sausage or whatever kind of stuff you're giving them.
because we mix like chicken, rice, broth, and like green bean snaps, and we make a big combination of that, and we mix some of it in with their food, so that we don't have to give them as much food because they're big labs, so they kind of get heavier whenever they get older.
Right.
Is too much of that bad for them though? Like every day?
Nah. Chicken broth, green beans.
Okay.
As long as it's a supplement to their dog food and not their sole source of nutrition, it's fine.
Okay, cool.
Fine.
Thank you.
No worries. Here's where we had our lookalikes. We talked about the carnitine. These guys help with metabolism, breaking down fatty acids. We just talked about that in relation to our energy drinks. So although they do, it's again one of those, they don't technically fit into this category, but they don't fit in anywhere else, and they most kind of represent and resemble vitamins, and so we just kind of jam them in this category. And that is vitamins. So what questions can I answer for you? Everybody feel okay about this? Good. Good. Okay, so Monday we're going to get started with minerals. I'll do a wee bit of review over vitamins. I did not. Yes. So I'll address that right now. So some of you have had some issues with the Purina website. I know that just a very few of you, a couple of you have had some problems. If you have your modules, you can still upload them into the Moodle, and I will go ahead and grade those. However, if it's due to you having Purina issues, you need to let me know. Because if it's just due to the fact that you didn't do it, well, I'm still going to let you hand them in, but it'll be for partial grades. I have had a couple of you be very, very vigilant on letting me know, you've been having issues, your password wasn't valid, it wouldn't let you do this one because it said you hadn't already done this one. And so if you want to go ahead and upload those, it will show me that it's submitted late, but you should be able to still submit them. And if you've been communicating with me, then I think I might be frozen. Oh, if you have been communicating with me, then I will give you full grades for them. But if you have not been communicating with me and you're just like, man, I'll just hand them in later, you can still hand them in, but it will be for partial credit. So any other questions about that?